There's an old saying that to truly understand France, you have to travel its rivers. The roads show you its modern face, but the rivers show you its soul. The Rhône is a legendary waterway carved out over millennia, acting as a historic highway that has connected empires, fueled world-renowned wine regions, and inspired some of history's greatest artists. Choosing a river cruise wasn't about the cruise line itself. It was about the unparalleled access it gives you to the heart of these ancient places. It's a method of travel that forces you to match the cadence of the landscape. There's no rush, no highway traffic, just a front row seat to the intimate, changing scenery of the French countryside. Our journey carries us from the grand medieval fortifications of Avignon down to the sun-drenched Roman monuments of Arles. Before turning back north, we'll wind through the quiet stone alleys of Viviers, the dramatic terraced vineyards of Tournon, and the overlooked Roman treasures of Vienne, finally culminating in the historic culinary capital of Lyon. As we cast off into the gentle current, we leave the modern world behind to trace the footprints of Romans, popes, and painters. The light of Arles and Roman Gaul. Sailing further south into the sun-baked landscapes of Lower Provence, we arrived in Arles. Arles is a captivating destination because it holds two entirely different identities in perfect balance. On one hand, it was once a major capital of the Roman Empire, often called the Little Rome of Gaul. On the other hand, its vibrant, contrasting colors and piercing Mediterranean sunlight made it the ultimate muse for Vincent van Gogh. As we walked into the center of town, we were confronted by the staggering sight of Les Arènes, a double-tiered Roman amphitheater built around 90 AD. It is absolutely immense. Originally constructed to hold over 20,000 spectators for roaring chariot races and gladiator battles. What's truly incredible is that it is still functional today, used for concerts, plays, and traditional Provençal festivals. Standing before these 2,000-year-old stones, you get a profound sense of the deep layers of time that define this region. But as you turn the corner from ancient Rome, you walk straight into an Impressionist painting. Van Gogh lived in Arles for just over a year, but it was the most explosive and productive period of his life, painting over 300 works here. We walked past the famous bright yellow awning of the Café Van Gogh, immortalized in his masterpiece Café Terrace at night. The light here really is unique. It has a golden, luminous quality that makes even a simple stone wall or a twisted olive tree look like poetry. Our time here coincided with the bustling local market day. The streets were a kaleidoscope of vendors selling sun-ripened tomatoes, bright yellow lemons, and intricately patterned linens. The air smelled of roasted garlic, rotisserie chicken, and herbes de Provence. From Arles, our path turned back northward, giving us one last look at the stunning medieval skyline of Avignon as we passed her massive walls once more, heading deeper into the heart of the river valley. The liquid gold of Provence, le moulin à huile. If wine is the blood of Provence, olive oil is undoubtedly its soul. To truly understand this ancient craft, we stepped inside a traditional moulin à huile, an olive oil mill. For thousands of years, since the ancient Greeks and Romans first brought the olive tree to these sun-drenched hillsides, the rhythm of life here has been tied to the winter harvest. Tasting a fresh drop of authentic Provençal olive oil is a revelation. It can be incredibly complex, sometimes peppery and robust, other times smooth with notes of green apple and fresh artichoke. Visiting the moulin reminds you that in Provence, the simplest ingredients are treated with the highest reverence, turning a basic agricultural product into an art form that has sustained families along the Rhône for generations. The shaded sanctuaries of Saint-Remy-de-Provence. Nestled right at the northern base of the jagged Alpilles Mountains lies Saint-Remy-de-Provence. It is the quintessential Provençal village, a maze of narrow, winding lanes, historic stone fountains, and grand boulevards shaded by massive interlocking plane trees that filter the intense Mediterranean sun into a cool, shifting canopy of green and gold. But beneath its tranquil, picture postcard surface lies a profound and moving artistic history. Just a short walk outside the village center stands the monastery of Saint-Paul de Mosul. It was inside this quiet Romanesque monastery, which functioned as an asylum, that Vincent van Gogh spent one of the most difficult yet artistically triumphant years of his life. Looking out from his small bedroom window at the rolling hills, the twisted olive groves, and the soaring cypress trees, Vincent transformed his internal turmoil into brilliant, energetic brushstrokes. During his 12 months in Saint-Remy, he painted over 150 masterpieces, including The Starry Night and Irises. Walking through the peaceful, sun-dappled cloisters and looking out over the exact fields he immortalized on canvas, you can clearly see why this light and landscape captivated him so deeply. Saint-Remy doesn't just display history. It wraps you completely inside the very colors and spaces that define the genius. Avignon, the fortress of the popes. Our journey through the deep layers of French history truly came alive the moment we approached Avignon. Known across the world as the city of popes, Avignon has an air of undeniable gravity that hits you instantly. It is surrounded by over 2 miles of remarkably preserved crenellated 14th century stone walls, completely shielding the old town from the modern world outside. Walking through one of the ancient stone gateways feels less like entering a modern city and more like passing through a portal directly into the Middle Ages. Back in the year 1309, due to intense political chaos and violence in Rome, the seat of the Catholic Church fled Italy and relocated right here along the banks of the Rhone, turning a quiet riverside town into the absolute center of Western power, wealth, and religion for nearly 70 years. Towering over everything else in the old city is the monumental Palais des Papes, the Palace of the Popes. It stands as one of the largest and most important Gothic buildings in all of Europe, a colossal structure that is actually 2 palaces joined together. The moment you stand in the grand square below its walls, the architecture does exactly what it was designed to do. It completely intimidates you. This wasn't built just to be a luxury residence, it was built to survive. It is an impenetrable, stark stone fortress, wrapped in walls up to 10 feet thick, fortified with heavy portcullises, battlements, and narrow slits for archers. Looking up at its dizzying height against the brilliant Mediterranean sky, you get a profound sense of the precarious nature of medieval power, where a pope had to live like a king, hiding inside a mountain of stone. But whatever impressions you form from the grim, warlike exterior completely shift when you step inside. Walking through the heavy timber doors, you enter a vast maze of grand reception halls, cloistered courtyards, private apartments, and soaring chapels. While centuries of revolution and military use have stripped the palace of its grand furniture and golden treasures, the sheer volume of the empty stone spaces allows your imagination to run wild. In the consistory hall, you can almost hear the whispered conspiracies of cardinals, while in the great Clementine Chapel, your eyes are pulled up to spectacular rib-vaulted ceilings. If you look closely at the walls of the private chapels, you can still marvel at the beautiful, faint remnants of colorful 14th century frescoes painted by Italian masters, flecks of vibrant lapis lazuli blues and golds that managed to survive the march of time. The climax of the exploration brings you up to the high, sun-drenched roof terraces of the palace. Standing on top of the battlements, the entire region opens up before you. Right next door, the golden statue of the Virgin Mary on top of the Avignon Cathedral gleams brightly in the sun, while below, the terracotta roofs of the old town stretch out toward the sweeping blue ribbon of the Rhone River. Standing on this high stone apex, listening to the wind whip through the towers, you realize that the popes may have long since returned to Rome, but the undeniable majesty they built here will remain carved into the soil of Avignon forever. The senses of Provence, les Halles d'Avignon. To truly understand the heartbeat of a French town, you have to go where the locals shop. In Avignon, that place is Les Halles. From the outside, the building immediately catches your eye with its famous north facade, a massive vertical botanical garden designed by Patrick Blanc. This towering green living wall features thousands of individual plants, creating a lush organic oasis right in the center of the historic city. But once you step through the glass doors, your senses are instantly overwhelmed by the true culinary riches of Provence. Les Halles is a bustling amphitheater of flavor, containing over 40 unique stalls run by passionate artisanal vendors. The air here is a thick, incredible blend of aromas: the earthy scent of Herbes de Provence, roasted garlic, fresh baked baguettes, and rich local cheeses. As you wander the aisles, you're treated to a brilliant canvas of colors: mounds of shiny, dark tapenades, bright yellow lemons, and blocks of fragrant lavender soap. This isn't a tourist trap, it's a living neighborhood institution. You watch locals catching up over an espresso at a corner cafe, choosing the perfect cut of meat from the butcher or sampling a slice of local goat cheese. It is the perfect place to pull up a stool, slow down, and soak in the effortless, joyful rhythm of everyday Provençal life. The regal wines of Chateauneuf-du-Pape. Just a short journey north of Avignon lies one of the most revered square miles of land in the entire wine-growing world, Chateauneuf-du-Pape. The name literally translates to the Pope's New Castle, a nod back to the 14th century, when the Avignon popes chose this sun-drenched hillside to build their summer fortress. While the castle itself was largely destroyed during the wars of religion, leaving behind a dramatic, stark stone silhouette on the horizon, its true, lasting legacy is buried deep in the earth below. When you walk into the vineyards here, the first thing that catches your eye isn't the grapes, but the soil. The ground is completely carpeted in galets roulés, large, smooth quartz stones smoothed over millennia by the Rhône River. These stones serve a brilliant natural purpose. During the blistering hot Provençal days, they absorb the intense heat of the sun. At night, long after the sun has set, they gently radiate that trapped warmth back up to the low-hanging clusters of grapes. This unique terroir, combined with the fierce Mistral winds that sweep the valley clean, allows the region to produce incredibly robust, complex, and velvety red wines. Sipping a glass of Grenache or Syrah while looking out over the very stones that nurtured it is an incredible experience. It's a place where history, geology, and tradition combine into a single unforgettable taste of Provence. Viviers, the living Middle Ages. As you travel the Rhône River, leaving the wide open plains of Lower Provence behind, the landscape begins to tighten. The valley narrows, the cliffs grow steeper, and the history takes on a quieter, more secretive tone. Nowhere is this shift more profound than when you step ashore at Viviers. Tucked tightly between the riverbanks and the wall of jagged rock, Viviers is an architectural time capsule. It is a place that feels less like a polished tourist destination and more like a living, breathing fragment of the Middle Ages that the modern world simply forgot to disturb. The moment you walk through the ancient stone gates, you are instantly struck by the overwhelming quiet. There are no bright neon signs, bustling modern storefronts, or roaring traffic here, just a soft echo of your own footsteps on cobblestones that have been smoothed by centuries of travelers. Viviers is beautifully divided into two distinct worlds. In the lower town, you wander through a maze of narrow, shadowed alleys, where the houses lean in close to one another. Here, you pass the heavy stone facades of historic homes, like the magnificent 16th century Maison des Chevaliers. If you look closely at the windows, you can still marvel at the intricate, detailed Renaissance carving of knights and crests etched into the pale limestone, a silent reminder of the wealth and power that once flowed through this river port. From the lower town, the only way forward is up. You follow a winding, steep stone pathway that climbs steadily along the old medieval ramparts, leaving the secular world behind as you enter the historic religious stronghold. This upper town was built as a fortified sanctuary, a safe haven where bishops and clergy could withdraw during times of war and siege. The climb requires you to slow your pace, forcing you to look at the texture of the ancient walls and the small hidden courtyards that reveal themselves around every single bend. At the very peak of the hill sits the crown jewel of Viviers, the St. Vincent Cathedral. Built in the 12th century, it holds the fascinating distinction of being the smallest cathedral in all of France, still in active use today. Standing at the cathedral's panoramic overlook, the entire journey makes sense. Looking out over the sprawling sea of terracotta roofs, the ancient stone ramparts, and the wide shimmering ribbon of the Rhone winding its way through the valley below, you get a profound sense of peace. Viviers doesn't shout for your attention. Instead, it quietly invites you to step backward in time, reminding us of the enduring beauty of a story written entirely in ancient stone. Train de l'Ardèche, the steam echoes of the Deux Gorges. When you stop along the Rhône at Tournon, the history isn't just trapped in stone walls and steep vineyards. Sometimes it moves. Just across the river, we stepped completely back in time to experience the Train de l'Ardèche. This historic meter-gauge railway is a living piece of industrial history, dating all the way back to 1891. Standing on the wooden platform, listening to the heavy hiss of the steam pressure, and watching the magnificent, polished black and red locomotive prepare for departure, you can't help but feel the thrill of the golden age of rail travel. There is a raw, mechanical honesty to a steam train that captures the imagination before you even leave the station. As the vintage wooden carriages give a gentle jerk forward, the train lets out a powerful, echoing whistle and begins its journey into the Gorge du Doubs. This is a landscape that is completely inaccessible by car. The tracks hug the sheer granite cliff faces, tracing the winding, chaotic path of the River Doubs rushing far below. Looking out the open windows, the view is spectacular. You are treated to a brilliant contrast of wild, untamed nature and brilliant 19th century engineering. The train rhythmically clicks and clacks across dizzying stone viaducts, passes through tunnels carved entirely by hand out of the solid rock, and clings to narrow ledges that offer a thrilling front-row seat to the deep emerald waters of the canyon. What makes this journey so special isn't just the scenery. It's the preservation of a forgotten way of life. The scent of wood smoke and coal floats through the air, and a fine mist of water vapor cools your face as the train climbs higher into the Ardèche hills. The line was originally built to connect isolated mountain villages to the busy Rhone Valley, carrying everything from local chestnuts and timber to passengers. When the train reaches its destination at a scenic mountain loop, you get to witness a beautiful, low-tech spectacle. The massive locomotive is uncoupled, driven onto a hand-operated turntable, and spun around by the crew using pure muscle power to face the return direction. The descent back down toward the Rhone Valley offers a chance to just sit back, listen to the rhythmic heartbeat of the steam piston, and watch the rugged cliffs give way once more to the neat, terraced vineyards of the valley. Riding the Train de l'Ardèche reminds you of a time when travel was an adventure in itself, a reminder to slow down, lean out the window, and appreciate the incredible ingenuity it took to conquer these wild French gorges over a century ago. Vienne, the living history of Roman Gaul. As you journey north along the Rhône, moving ever closer to the grand city of Lyon, you encounter a destination that is one of France's best-kept secrets. Nestled into a dramatic, sharp bend in the river and guarded by steep hills, the town of Vienne holds a history that is absolutely staggering. Long before it was a modern French commune, Vienne was a major capital of the Celtic Allobroge tribe, and later a sparkling jewel of the Roman Empire. What makes Vienne so incredibly special today isn't just that it has history, but how that history lives. It is a place where thousands of years of human heritage stand completely uncovered, seamlessly integrated into the fabric of everyday modern life. Walking through the center of town, navigating past quiet cafes and local bakeries, you turn a casual corner and find yourself standing face to face with antiquity. Rising up right in the middle of a modern public square is the Temple of Augustus and Livia. Built in the late 1st century BC, this monument is a miracle of preservation. It stands as one of the most flawlessly intact Roman temples in the entire world. As you look up at its soaring Corinthian columns and beautifully carved stone pediment, you realize this building didn't survive by being locked away in a museum. Over the centuries, it was repurposed as a church, a marketplace, and even a courthouse. Today, locals sit on benches just yards from its ancient steps, sipping espresso and reading the morning paper, a beautiful, surreal juxtaposition of the ancient and the ordinary. Just a short walk further, heading away from the river and into the steep hills, the landscape opens up to reveal the scale of Roman ambition. Carved directly into the natural slope of Mount Pipede is Vienne's massive Roman theater. Built in the 1st century AD, this colossal stone structure once held over 13,000 spectators, making it one of the largest urban theaters in the Roman world. Walking up those steep, weathered stone tiers, you can almost hear the roar of ancient crowds. But what is truly wonderful is that this theater's story never ended. Rather than serving as a dead relic, the local community still utilizes its incredible natural acoustics, packing the same stone steps every single summer for world-class performances during the famous Jazz à Vienne festival. Standing at the very top of the theater's rim, looking out over the sea of terracotta roofs down to the shimmering ribbon of the Rhone, the true character of Vienne becomes clear. In this town, history isn't something trapped behind glass or cordoned off with velvet ropes. It is walked past on the way to school, lived in, and celebrated every single day. Visiting Vienne reminds us that the past isn't just something to be remembered. It's something to be shared, lived with, and woven into the rhythm of the present. Notre-Dame de Fourviere, the guardian of Lyon. To truly see Lyon, you first have to leave its busy streets and climb. Our journey to the city's crown jewel began with a ride on the historic funicular railway, pulling us straight up the side of Fourviere Hill. Known for millennia as the Hill of Prayer, this summit offers a breathtaking vantage point where the entire city unfolds beneath your feet. A massive tapestry of historic plazas sliced by the silver ribbons of the Rhone and Saône rivers. Turning from the overlook, you are confronted by the majestic Basilica of Notre-Dame de Fourviere. Built in the late 19th century, its stark white facade and fortress-like octagonal towers dominate the skyline. But any impression of stone grit completely evaporates the exact moment you step through the heavy sanctuary doors. The interior is a breathtaking explosion of color and light. Every soaring, arched vault and wall is completely lined with millions of intricately placed, shimmering tile mosaics. The way the soft light catches the gold leaf, the rich teals, and the deep Byzantine blues is absolutely stunning, wrapping you entirely inside a monumental work of art. Built by the locals as a symbol of profound gratitude, this shining sentinel does more than just anchor the skyline. It stands as the ultimate visual soul and guardian of Lyon, welcoming every traveler who follows the river into its embrace. Lyon, Bouchon, Basilique, and the Temple of Taste. You cannot truly say you have arrived in Lyon until you step off the street and into a traditional bouchon. For centuries, these small, family-run restaurants have been the beating heart and soul of Lyon's culinary identity. Originally opened to serve the city's historic silk weavers a hearty, comforting meal, after a long shift, bouchons are a masterclass in joyful hospitality. There is zero pretension here. You sit elbow to elbow with locals under low wooden beams, surrounded by vintage copper pans and old carafes of local wine. The food is delightfully rich and rustic, classics like golden, pillowy quenelles in a savory crayfish sauce or artisan charcuterie. It is a sensory introduction that proves why Lyon has held the proud title of the gastronomic capital of the world for nearly a century. Food here isn't a luxury. It is a shared, daily celebration of life. Stepping out of the warmth of the bouchon and deeper into the historic heart of Old Lyon, you find yourself standing in the grand shadow of the Cathedral of Saint Jean-Baptiste. Standing proudly since the 12th century, This majestic structure is a stunning masterclass in architectural transition, seamlessly blending heavy Romanesque foundations with soaring, intricate Gothic vaults. Walking through its ancient stone portals feels like stepping straight back into the Middle Ages. Inside, the dim, atmospheric sanctuary is illuminated by the jewel-toned glow of 13th century stained glass windows. But the true marvel here is the cathedral's historic astronomical clock. Built in the 14th century, this mechanical wonder doesn't just tell time, it tracks the positions of the sun, moon, and earth, bursting into a lively spectacle of moving automated figures whenever the hour strikes. It is a breathtaking reminder of the deep layers of human ingenuity and history woven into every corner of this city. That same dedication to human craftsmanship is what leads you to the ultimate holy site for any food lover. Les Halles de Lyon, Paul Bocuse. Named after the most revolutionary French chef of the 20th century, this covered market is a magnificent modern temple of taste. The moment you step through its glass doors, your senses are treated to a spectacular, buzzing wonderland. Over 50 of the region's absolute finest food artisans, cheesemongers, pastry chefs, and butchers showcase their edible crafts here with flawless artistic precision. Your eyes are pulled in every direction, from beautifully stacked pyramids of creamy local Saint Marcellin cheeses to the iconic hanging chains of cured meats and traditional Lyonnaise sausages. Before you leave, you absolutely have to stop at a pastry stall to try the city's legendary brioche à la praline, a buttery, golden brioche packed with bright pink, candy-coated almonds that melt into sweet, gooey pockets of joy when baked. From the cozy counters of the Bouchon to the ancient stones of Saint-Jean-Baptiste, and finally the vibrant stalls of Les Halles, Lyon honors the land, respects the artisan, and treats the simple act of sharing a meal as the ultimate celebration of life itself. The soul of the soil, Auvergne and Beaujolais. As our journey carries us steadily northward, leaving the wide-open, sun-baked plains of Lower Provence behind, the face of France begins to shift. Entering the expansive Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes region, the river valley tightens, and the terrain transforms into a landscape of dramatic, rolling green hillsides sculpted by centuries of agriculture. This is a region where the relationship between the people and the land is deeply personal, fiercely protected, and visible in every neatly turned row of soil. Our path leads us away from the main riverbanks and directly into the heart of one of the most famous, historically rich wine landscapes in the world, the beautiful, undulating hills of the Beaujolais wine country. It was here, tucked away in the hills, that we stepped off the traditional tourist trail to experience something truly revolutionary. We had the distinct privilege of visiting a winery belonging to the Vignerons d'Eau-Neudos du Vivant, an exceptional collective of forward-thinking winemakers entirely dedicated to the principles of agroecology and biodynamic farming. Walking through these rows, you instantly realize that these aren't your typical sterile vineyards. The fields are bursting with biodiversity. Rather than stripping the earth, these vignerons work in total harmony with nature, planting cover crops, preserving wildflowers, and introducing fruit trees directly into the vine rows to create a balanced, self-sustaining ecosystem. It is an inspiring return to ancestral wisdom, supercharged by modern ecological science. Stepping into the cool stone sanctuary of the aging cellar, the winemaker's passion becomes completely tangible. Here, the wine is treated not as a mass-produced commodity, but as a living expression of the season. Swirling a glass of their vibrant organic gamay, the aromas are incredibly pure and expressive. When you take a sip, you aren't just tasting a beautiful French red wine. You are tasting the health of the soil, the crisp mountain air, and a profound boundary-pushing respect for the living earth. It is a powerful reminder that the best way to honor tradition is to protect the future of the land, leaving us with a memory of Beaujolais that is as sustainable as it is unforgettable. Brasserie Georges, a Lyon institution. To experience the true, timeless glamour of Lyon, you have to step through the doors of Brasserie Georges. Serving locals and travelers since 1836, this is one of Europe's oldest and most magnificent brasseries. Walking into the main dining room feels like a sudden plunge into the roaring 20s. The sheer scale of the space is jaw-dropping. A vast, column-free hall beneath soaring ceilings, bathed in the warm glow of massive Art Deco chandeliers and flanked by endless rows of plush red leather booths. The energy here is infectious, a beautifully choreographed chaos of white-aproned waiters spinning past with towering platters of their legendary choucroute and glasses of beer brewed right on site. It's a legendary institution where icons like Hemingway and Edith Piaf once dined, and where today the simple act of eating lunch feels like a grand, historic celebration. As our journey along the Rhone comes to a close, you realize that traveling by the rhythm of the river strips away the artificial rush of modern vacationing. It forces you to slow down and truly notice the textures of the world, the feel of 2,000-year-old Roman stone, the distinct golden quality of the Provençal light, and the deep passion poured into every vineyard slope and culinary creation. This voyage through Provence and Lyon wasn't just a collection of sights. It was a slow-motion immersion into a culture that treats daily life as an art form. And as the screen fades, we know these vibrant images, rich flavors, and unforgettable memories of the Rhone will stay with us for a lifetime.